and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. Today's video is sponsored by our Amazon affiliate link, which you'll see in the comments section below. Okay, so today's video I'm calling Mealybug Eradication Tough Love. So I have been followed by mealybugs, tormented by mealybugs since I was a little kid. I started gardening indoors at the age of 7. Around the time I was about 11, I had inadvertently brought in a mealybug-ridden plant into my many plants, because by that time I had lots of plants. My parents were very tolerant and let me keep plants in the windows of and various areas of our home. At the time we were living on the East Coast in actually Massachusetts, where it all started. And so I had a mealybug invasion, and it was horrifying. I was so upset. My mother said I cried for days, and we went and got the chemical of choice at the time, because this was the 1970s, so it was very toxic. I didn't know. I followed directions. I killed a lot of my plants with it. Hence, in later years, I wrote this book, Indoor Gardening the Organic Way. It really kind of stemmed from that and many other reasons. But just basically to have a more healthy home, right? So what happened with the mealy? So like I said, the mealybugs have tormented, they've followed me around. So if I ever have, generally speaking, a problem, it's going to be with some mealybugs cropping up again. And that did happen with these pothos. A couple of months ago, I noticed some mealybugs popping up. So it's just so you can see what mealybugs look like. This is that little, what looks like cottony white on there, that is a mealybug. The cottony white there. If you look really close, you can see that they look like they're like a little funky kind of shield-shaped flat insect, but then they've got this white stuff on the outside. And so that, you see that, you see white and cottony stuff on your plants, that is mealybugs. Fortunately, these guys don't have them anymore. I had been treating them, as I suggest, with isopropyl alcohol spraying and rinsing. The problem with that, it's not so much a problem, but you really need to be on that. So you need to do that like once a week. Douse them in the alcohol, then rinse them, then watch them some more. Repotting is good so that you can get any mealybug larvae and anything, eggs and things out of the soil, that sort of thing. A lot of work. I've been kind of busy, wasn't really keeping up on it. Saw the mealybugs were just being very persistent. So I have done this in the past with other plants, and it has worked really well. And now that we're coming into spring in many parts of the Western Hemisphere, you will be able to do this as well. And by tough love, I mean I put the plants outside. Now, what happens when you put the plants outside is there's lots of insects, especially if you have a garden that you're not treating with chemical pesticides. There will be lots of beneficial insects outdoors that will say, yummy, mealybugs. And the mealybugs have been grown indoors, and they're nice and plump and fat and tasty. And what happens is those outdoor insects will do the job for you, and they will eat up all the mealybugs on your plant. Rain also will help to wash things off as well, but you will see even after a rainstorm, you'll see that even after some rinsing sometimes, if you brush your hands along the mealybugs, that those little suckers are still clinging onto the foliage even after water. So that is another, what'll happen when you put them outdoors is you'll see, wow, they are just gone. They're just, the outdoor insects love you. They get a nice tasty treat. I'm sure that the mealybugs are full of protein. They're also full of a sugar, so they're tasty in that terms, because what happens is what the mealybugs, what they do is they feed on the foliage And as they feed on the foliage, they convert what they're feeding on, your plant. It converts into a sticky substance. It's a honey substance, and that's why things like ants. If you find ants on any of your plants, usually what they're doing. This is the same as what happens with aphids. The aphids do the same thing. They feed on your plant and they create a honey-like substance. So do scale. So all of them do that. The ants want the honey to take back to their hills, to their ant hills. So they will protect the mealybugs, the scale, the aphids, in order for that to happen. So, however, when you get these outside, and basically it's a survival of the fittest out there, other insects will eat the mealybugs on your houseplants. I'm in Southern California, so I was able to do it even though during our colder time, because we haven't been getting that cold at night, but I wouldn't go any lower than the mid 40s, and then have them in very important when you do this. Remember, these plants have been growing indoors. They're not growing in full sun, so make sure to put them in a shaded, sheltered location. Otherwise, you're going to get things like leaf burn, which this plant has a little here. And basically what it is, here, I'll take that leaf off and show you. So this probably got a little too much sun. There was a point in time where I noticed the sun had shifted a little bit, so I ran out and moved them. So when you get the sunburn, it'll usually be lesions within the leaf itself. They can be black when it's really bad. When the sun has been really bad, it'll be black. These are brown, so it wasn't as bad. So keep that in mind. You do want to keep them sheltered when you're doing this. I have done this with other plants, as I mentioned, and now they're fine back indoors again. And keep them watered. Don't forget about them. Keep them well watered as well, and keep an eye on them. See if they're getting if the insects are dining on them. And then, like I said, wait probably a couple of months, I would suggest. You might even be 3 months, 4 months. So we're coming into spring now. So say if you are able to do this with a plant, maybe you can keep the pests at bay now, and then another month from now, put them out. So maybe put them out for May and June, even July, depending on where you live, if it's not getting too hot. But give the predators a chance to dine on them, and then once you do bring them back in, now I just recently brought these back. I'm going to be repotting them as well, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on them, keeping them separated, keeping an eye on them, making sure they're not developing anything anymore, but I don't anticipate that. The interesting thing is you'll often hear about, when you're reading things, maybe watching other videos, how important it is to make sure when you bring plants that have been houseplants that have been outside during the summertime indoors in the fall for winter, to make sure they're free of pests. And that is a consideration. You do want to do that for sure. But it's even more of a problem, frankly, that we will have insects, pest insects on our houseplants indoors, because our indoors are the perfect environment to breed indoor pests on our houseplants. If you're having problems, like I mentioned, with the mealybugs, give the tough love a try. See how it works for you. You want to keep an eye on the plants, though, like I said. Make sure they're adapting okay to the outdoors so that you don't lose them outdoors from another problem. But otherwise, this should work really well for you, especially if there's a persistent problem with a pest such as mealybugs. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.